27 minutes to 8. Good morning, Melbourne. Good morning, Sydney. Simon O'Donnell and Cam Luke, all thanks to the Quaddie app. Download it, upload your Quaddies, never miss a number.
Your numbers.
Ever. You know what? We love Matt Chapman. We love he speaks his mind. He's been a part of SEN previously.
I don't think he's that smart, but I like him.
Well, let's find out because he joins us now. Matt, welcome to you, mate, and welcome to the Spring Racing Breakfast.
Yeah, good morning, Australia. Good morning, boys. I think, thank you very much for such a warm welcome, at least from one of you.
Morning, Matt.
Straight up, I'm going to ask you straight up. I read some of your articles, and I've seen some of your comments from the weekend. When State of Rest won the Cox Plate Saturday, what was your first thoughts?
State of who? Like, most people over here had never even heard of State of Rest until possibly the horse won the Grade 1 in Saratoga. But was really a horse that wasn't on anyone's radar as any sort of massive talent. I mean, this was a horse who was knocking at the door in decent juvenile races, but never looked like winning like a big one. Came back at the Curragh Enlisted Company, and to be honest, if it was just a run-of-the-mill race the horse was going to run in next time, then you would have said he made an eye-catching comeback over a mile at the Curragh in June. But then somehow he went to Saratoga and won a Grade 1 against the much overhyped Bolshoi Ballet, who was once favourite for the Derby but has never looked much good. And then goes and wins arguably one of the greatest races on planet Earth. And it's just like everyone was waking up and saying, State of who? Where the hell has he come from? Oh, he's one of ours. And now he's the greatest horse in Australia. And the Australians have looked poor in the middle distance races once again. But look, I don't think it was the greatest Cox Plate of all time. They can't all be amazing. I think most people would think that Winks would have hacked up. Most horses, Ben Battle probably would have hacked up. And I was left feeling, to be honest, if I was really honest about the Cox Plate, as an analyst, I thought Very Elegant should have won the race. And I don't know how much coverage that horse got in Australia in third place, but if I had been analysing that race, I'd have said Very Elegant was very, very unlucky not to win, because the first two got a run round in the middle of the pack round the bend that you just never get in the Cox Plate, and Very Elegant kept it simple out wide, and usually that's what you want to do, isn't it? Swing wide, down the middle of the track, swoop late, but all the action was happening away from Very Elegant. I thought Very Elegant was really unlucky.
Matt, putting our mind towards next Tuesday, we're seeing a really different race in the Melbourne Cup of 2021. There's just not the influence that's usually there from the overseas raiders. The ones we do have here, in particular Spanish Mission, we saw him run so well against Stradivarius at York. Where do you rate Spanish Mission? And you're looking that, look, he's the one that's miles ahead of what he may be against on Tuesday?
As far as the sort of raiders are concerned, yes. We'll have a chat about the favourite in a minute, maybe. But, yeah, look, Spanish Mission is a decent stayer. There's nothing wrong with him. He mixes a bit of speed and stamina, so he's a good horse for a Melbourne Cup. He's by no means a worldie. I mean, over here, he was only rated 110 3 runs ago. Well, you know, Stradivarius in his pomp last season was rated 125. So Spanish Mission is 15 pounds off of Stradivarius then. He's now rated quite similar to Stradivarius because he's gone up a few pounds, and Stradivarius at the age of 7 is not the horse he once was. So, look, he's a very admirable European stayer who, in a normal year, could not be dismissed. But I think there are two aspects of this Lexus Melbourne Cup. The first is obviously the lack of number of European runners. But the second is you genuinely have a possible, champion in Incentivise, and that's not normally the case.
I did see your comment. You obviously have a relationship with Peter Moody, and you obviously had the conversation with that about Incentivise, who won the Caulfield Cup so brilliantly a couple of weeks ago. And I did notice the afterthought was thrown in the article you wrote.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Mood said to me. And I was pleased to hear that. He clearly wasn't too fussed about the Melbourne Cup at all. He said, look, our aim, he didn't even aim the horse at the Melbourne Cup. He said our aim was the Caulfield Cup. I mean, I always thought the Melbourne Cup was the big one, but obviously for Moods, it's the Caulfield Cup. So he aimed for that. He got that. And now he thought, well, to hell with it. Let's go for that thing called the Melbourne Cup as well. And that's what he's doing. So it seems strange for a Melbourne Cup to be an afterthought, but that's what it is for PGM. But then again, PGM is in a different world to everyone else, isn't he? I mean, I love this guy. I loved him as the trainer of Black Caviar and got to speak to him a lot. I loved him when he was a broadcaster because he was everything a broadcaster should be. And he eats well, which is always nice. He's basically, I think, and you can quote me on this, you probably will, he is Australia's equivalent to Jesus Christ, really, because he's risen again, hasn't he? He was down and out, and he has risen again. And he's just the kind of guy you'd expect to rise again. Peter Moody when he retired after all the troubles he had, no one ever thought he was going to go away, did they? No one ever thought that. At some point, he was going to rise again. And he's not just risen, he's risen with a horse who just can't stop winning. And at the moment, I mean, I don't know what the shortest price ever for the Melbourne Cup is, but he must be very close to the shortest price favourite ever for the Melbourne Cup. And on paper, he's going to win it, isn't he, incentivised? He's just going to win it.
Look, the weight, obviously, the kilo and a half he got, but I'm in that thought that he will just win. And I think it was definitely aimed at Caulfield Cup was its grand final, but I think the way that it won the Caulfield Cup changed the plans dramatically of the connections and the moods. So, hey, I want to ask you, Matt, what is the talk? Look, obviously the new stringent testings and regulations you have to pass to get to Melbourne and get to Australia has changed dramatically in the last 12 months. We've heard Aidan O'Brien come out and say it is almost impossible now to take horses there. Joseph O'Brien spoke on one of our TV stations here, racing.com, after State of Rest, won the race and still sort of said, if we had known how hard it would have been, we probably wouldn't have even done it. What is the talk? What's the vibe consistently through all those big trainers over in Europe?
Look, I try and have a bit of fun, but I understand. I'm not, completely sick. You did mention at the start of the show that I might be, but I'm not completely sick. It's like if horses keep dying in a race and those horses tend to be the raiders, you've got to do something, haven't you? You can't have horses dying. We had exactly the same over here in our Grand National, the big jumps race here. You've got to do something. And any authority who didn't do something would not have the best interest of the sport at heart. So on that side of things, the Australian authorities had to do something. Now, the question is, of course, how much you do. I want to ask you a question, boys. We know the Melbourne Cup is a race that the people love in Australia. That's obvious. I love the Melbourne Cup. But how much do you think your average punter understands what a horse is being put through to take the tests that it's having to do? Is that widely publicised or is that fairly hush-hush?
Whether it's widely publicised or not, Matt, I think still most people don't understand unless those industry participants, they, yes, do understand. The people that are probably your hardcore racing followers, they do understand it. I think it's probably, in a way, a worldwide phenomenon in that, protocols that are put in place, with horse testing before big races, people want to get there, see the best field, have a bet, and enjoy the day. That's the majority of them. So, yes, we talk about it a lot at this time of year, but who it makes sense to and changes their opinions or brings them to the sport or takes them away from the sport, I don't think that is a hell of a lot of people.
No. And my point here is really, I would hazard a guess that if most people knew that your horse was having to be sedated, not just once but many times, if most people knew drugs were being put into your horse that you do not really want put into them close to a race, if most people knew that your training regime was completely being messed up, then a lot of those people might say, well, hold on, like, okay, we want to stop the risk as much as we can of horses breaking down, but equally, we don't want to put horses through what you are putting horses through. So my point here is I think there has to be a happy medium somewhere along the line. Now, my belief with racehorses is that just about every racehorse on planet Earth, if you wanted to find something wrong with it, you could. Mm-hmm. I imagine if you wanted to find something wrong with Incentivize, you could find something that would stop it running in the Lexus Melbourne Cup if you looked hard enough. Just like there aren't many perfect human beings on Earth. Most of us have got a knock here and knock there. And if you went to the right doctor, they could probably say, oh, I might not be doing that 20K run a day if I was you. So it just depends how closely you want to look. So I come back to my original point, boys, which is I'm slightly wishy-washy here because I believe something has to be done, and I understand that, but it's clearly gone to such an extreme and ridiculousness, to be quite honest, that it has to change again, and there has to be a little bit more trust, I think, put into trainers. And I know you could say that, well, hold on, we trusted the trainers where horses broke down. But then you come back to a point I've always made over these kind of things, is that horse racing is a tough sport. Horses will break down. And once you begin to educate people that the majority, however, won't break down, the majority will have tremendous lives, and you have to remember that none of these horses would ever have lived without horse racing, none of them. And I think there is a majority of the public who believes that all these horses are running around in a field somewhere having a lovely life, and we just take them and race them and put them through this regime, which, of course, is absolutely cloud cuckoo stuff. But that's what some people, I suspect, believe. You know, these horses were bred to race. Otherwise, they know other people who look after that horse or own that horse or train it or ride it or look at it every morning. Those are the people who get affected most, not the general public. Those are the people that it really hits. So, look, in general terms, clearly the testing has gone too far, and it has to take a step back. The Lexus Melbourne Cup needs an international appeal. Gone are the days of the greats in Australia who used to say, you know, get rid of these pommies coming over, or whatever, the Irish, or whatever you want to call us. You know, that is what now makes the Lexus Melbourne Cup a great race. You take the international aspect of the race away and you lose your great race. And no one wants that, because people will just stop watching it. That's the thing.
I agree.
You know, they'll stop watching it, and then it won't matter whether they break down or not, because no one will be watching.
Incredibly beautifully said, Matt. We're going to cut it short.
Those Peter for me.
Most certainly will. Matt Chapman, he's a superstar. We're going to get to a break. Plenty more next.